This terrifying story is about the veteran orca trainer Therese Brancheau that was killed when a 6-ton whale named Tilikum pulled her into the water in 1979. 6-year-old Therese Brancheau visited SeaWorld in Orlando with her mother. She saw her first Shamu show in the venue. This is where it all began, the moment when she saw the giant killer whale jumping outside the water. She made her career choice for the rest of her life. Dawn was convinced at a young age that this was where she wanted to work as an animal trainer. But at that moment, she had no idea what was in store for her in the future. "This is what I want to do," she told her mother as she walked down the aisle of the Shamu Stadium. Therese Brancheau told us in an interview with the Orlando Press with the vision of becoming an animal trainer. Dawn went to the University of South Carolina to pursue psychology and animal behavior. After graduation, she spent 2 years working with dolphins at a New Jersey attraction before securing her job at SeaWorld. Therese Brancheau is undoubtedly an animal lover. She adored her 2 Labrador retrievers and volunteered at an animal shelter in her spare time. She also raised several stray dogs, chickens, rabbits, and small birds at her home. Early in her career, she worked with otters and sea lions at Six Flags amusement parks in 1994, then got transferred to SeaWorld to work with orcas in 1996. That same year, she married Scott Brancheau, a stunt skier at SeaWorld. In 2000, Dawn appeared in a television interview to talk about the importance of staying physically fit to work with those underwater giants. She did weightlifting, running, and cycling. Fitness was a lifestyle for Dawn. She had to stay extremely fit to do what she did. Dawn was fully aware of the risks of her work and even talked about them. She discovered that orcas rarely, if ever, attack humans in the wild, and that the chances of this happening in captivity were very low. Interestingly, orcas' interactions with divers and fishermen show that they are very social, intelligent, and curious creatures. Around her time with the orcas, she met Tilikum, the name that actually meant friend in Chinook. But his history quietly betrayed that in reality he was not. Tilikum, also known as blackfish, was first caught in Iceland in 1983. Tilikum, the killer whale, was only 2 years old when he was separated from his family off the coast of Iceland and taken to a concrete tank in the Hafnarfjordur Marine Zoo near Reykjavik. For almost a year, he could only swim in circles or lie motionless on the surface of the water while waiting for his transport to Canada. In 1984, Tilikum was transferred to its new home, Sealand of the Pacific, which was in poor condition located on Vancouver Island in British Columbia. He was placed with 2 older female orcas named Haida II and Nootka IV, who competed for dominance. As in the wild, females hold the highest rank in the social hierarchy. A trainer working in Sealand in the late 1980s revealed that Tilikum was often the target of attacks by the 2 female orcas, who often emerged the next day with visible injuries. The extreme stress led to Tilikum developing stomach ulcers and being isolated in a medical pool to protect him from the violent attacks. To address the problem, Sealand sought advice from Bruce Stevens, a former SeaWorld head trainer, who provided trainers with a handbook warning them that failing to adequately stimulate their animals would lead to the animals creating their own excitement. Nonetheless, biologist Eric noted that there was little improvement. The animals' intelligence and needs were not sufficiently taken into account, as Bruce had warned. The orcas began to play with new objects in their tank and refused to relinquish them, becoming increasingly aggressive. In May 1989, Eric resigned and reported the aquarium safety problems to the Canadian Federation of Humane Societies, including his ominous premonition that someone would be seriously injured. He had a terrifying final warning: "I feel that sooner or later someone will be seriously injured." On February 20, 1991, after a performance, a tragic incident occurred when a University of Victoria marine biology student and part-time trainer named Kelty Byrne, aged 20s, slipped and accidentally fell into the orca pool. Tilikum and the 2 female orcas then attacked and assassinated her. She was just a 20-year-old student working part-time with orcas to make extra income. Sadly, Kelty fell into the pool accidentally and got hunted by Tilikum and the 2 other orcas. Employee is dead after an encounter at a park called Sealand of the Pacific. Victim, Kelty Byrne, was a championship swimmer and a part-time worker at Sealand. After the terrible incident, Sealand closed its doors and the orcas were sold to SeaWorld in. The animals were part of the park's orca exhibit, with little to no attention paid to its aggressive reputation. He was the largest orca in captivity in 1999. Tilikum was involved in another strange, fatal accident in which a homeless person passed away. Despite his history, Tilikum was still on display at SeaWorld, and he made a lot of money for the company. Tilikum and Dawn had trained together for many years. Those who worked with her said that their bond was strong and based on love and trust. But on February 24, 2010, on the day of the Shamu presentation, a terrible tragedy occurred. On this day, Tilikum and Dawn performed at the Dining with Shamu show at SeaWorld, where guests enjoyed an outdoor dinner with a live orca show. The 40-year-old trainer was at ease with the orca and had just stroked his nose. But what happened next left the public and the world in shock. Dawn lay with her face next to Tilikum's, the orca with whom she had spent countless hours and who had always treated her like a trusted companion. But when Dawn turned, Tilikum grabbed hold of her trainer and longtime friend. Witnesses claimed that Tilikum grabbed her ponytail and then pulled her into the water, and after which he then started swinging her underwater in his mouth. According to other witnesses, however, she was dragged into the pool by her arm or shoulder. The trainer was quickly and violently pulled into the pool, after which she drowned. The attack was prolonged and incredibly violent. Apparently happens, we had a female trainer back in the whale holding area. She apparently slipped or fell into the tank and was fatally injured by one of the whales. To an autopsy that was made public, Tilikum thrashed its trainer around its pool, breaking her jaw, shattering a portion of her spine, dislocating one of her elbows, and even dislocating a knee. Dawn Brancheau drowned after being pulled into SeaWorld's pool on February 24th around 2 p.m. and passed away as a result of blunt force injuries to the head, neck, and chest, according to the autopsy. She was attacked by the orcas with such force that, according to the autopsy, a portion of her scalp was forcibly pulled from the skull. The orca's violent motions fractured Dawn's lower jaw, part of her vertebrae, and several ribs. Her left arm was also torn from its socket, and Dawn was scalped with her hair and skin found at the bottom of the pool. The autopsy was released, while SeaWorld and Dawn's family were awaiting a court ruling on their request to keep a video of the fatal attack private. Even though the other trainers tried to divert him with nets and food for 45 minutes, he continued to sit on the basin deck with Dawn's shattered body. Eventually, they managed to get him into a smaller medical pool where he was easier to calm. And he finally released the body of the trainer who had spent so much time with him. Dawn Brancheau was just 40 years old when she passed away. She was laid to rest in the Holy Sepulchre Cemetery, which is located just outside of Chicago, Illinois. A lot of people have testified on Dawn and Tilikum's close relationship. Even the senior trainer, John Hargrove, said he had a wonderful connection with her, and she had a wonderful relationship with him. I believe he loved her, and I know she loved him. After Dawn's tragic accident, no SeaWorld trainer ever again went into a pool with an orca. The ban was put into effect by SeaWorld shortly after it was laid to rest. They continued to enforce it indefinitely. For years, the federal office responsible for worker safety has been attempting in vain to persuade SeaWorld to abide by stricter regulations. 2013, the documentary Blackfish was released. The film, which was mostly about the passing of Dawn Brancheau, also highlighted the precarious conditions in which orcas are kept in captivity. As for Dawn's family, they would rather remember her for how she lived than how she passed. Her family established an eponymous organization in her honor in 2016. Its purpose, according to them, is committed to improving the lives of children and animals in need, motivating others to pursue their aspirations, and promoting the value of community service. Tilikum had to spend most of his days after this violent attack in a pool that was rarely seen by the public. Reports have emerged that he would spend hours just lying on the surface of the water. And until today, no one knows why Tilikum made that choice to attack Dawn, grab and pull her into the basin. After Dawn's fatal accident, the orca remained at SeaWorld, where he passed away from a lung infection in 2017. SeaWorld did not take responsibility for Dawn's death in August 2010, when they were convicted by OSHA for 3 safety violations. They were only fined $75,000. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell icon to be notified about future videos.